Hey guys, it's Pelican here and welcome to my spin to win Stamsorc build video for the new Wolfhunter patch. This build is perfect for outnumbered situations because it performs really well when you take a lot of damage, and it's also good for small scale PvP. And the strength of these builds are it has high AoE damage, lots of sustain, healing, and very high mobility. I made this build primarily for CP, but I think with some configurations it can be used for non-CP as well. And without further ado, let's get to the build. Alright, firstly I'll be going through what sets to run. On both of my bars, I'm running 5-piece 7th Legion, 5-piece Warrior's Fury, and 2-piece bloodspawn. 7th and Fury is a pretty common setup for outnumbered PvP, and that's because it works really well. When you're taking a lot of pressure, you can build up a lot of weapon damage. 7th Legion gives you about 500 weapon damage when it procs, and Fury can build up to 750 depending on how much damage you take. And when you're outnumbered, this will build up to max very easily, and the dogs can keep it up. I'm running bloodspawn. I know some people might think Troll King is a better option, but personally I think that Stamina Sorcerer has so much heals that you don't really need Troll King. You're better off having more resistance, and that's why I run bloodspawn. For the enchantments, I'm running 2 prismatic on the big pieces, and the rest are stamina glyphs. That will put us at a comfortable 26k HP and 11k magicka, and we have about 31.4k stamina. For the jewelry, I'm running 1 swift and 2 infused weapon damage. Now swift is probably the best trait for solo PvP, especially for stamina characters, because it gives you so much mobility. It increases all movement speed by 10%, and with Hurricane, my walking speed is pretty much the same as a normal sprinting speed. So this is a really good set, a really good trait. You can run more if you want, but I think that 1 is enough. I'm running infused weapon damage. You can go robust if you think that 31k is a bit too little stam, but infused is more damage at the cost of a little stamina. For the enchantment, I'm running 1 stamina recovery. You can still go weapon damage. I just run a stamina recovery so I don't have to heavy attack that much, and you're running both weapon damage. On my front bar, I'm running an axe and a dagger. I'm running the axe for the bleed. It's really helpful for taking down tankier targets or finishing off opponents after you burst them. And one thing you might not know, the steel tornado and dawnbreaker can proc the axe bleed, so that gives us a fairly high chance of proccing the bleed. I'm running dagger for the increased crit chance, and that will put us at about 43% crit in heavy, which I think is pretty good. And for the enchantment, I'm running diseased for the major defile. And when your weapon damage enchantment is procced together with 7th and Fury, you have 5.7k weapon damage, so that will give you a lot of burst and a lot of healing. On my back bar, I'm running a powered 2-hander, and the main reason I'm running powered is because of vigor. It's a little different from other heals. The way vigor works is that it will scale off the stats at which you cast it at. So for example, if I cast it at 3k weapon damage, and my weapon damage increases to 4k while the vigor is still up, it will not increase the vigor's tooltip. You have to cast it again at 4k weapon damage. The only way you can change the vigor's healing after you cast it is to get more healing passives. So that's where powered comes in. So ideally, you will want to put vigor on a bar with more weapon damage, which is our Nunhone front bar. And when you cast it and swap to the powered bar, you are effectively stacking the effects of Nunhone and powered for your vigor. So that will give you a lot of healing. And on top of that, powered also affects your dark deal and your crit surge healing. And these two will contribute a lot to your heals. Each dark deal can heal about 5 to 6k in this build, so that's a lot of healing. And crit surge will have a tooltip of about I think 4k in Cyrodiil. So that will give you a lot of passive heal over times. So this is a pretty neat trick to utilize the maximum efficiency of vigor. If you are going to play this build in non-CP, I would highly recommend swapping out Fury, because you take a lot less crit damage in non-CP, so that will make this set a lot less effective. I would highly recommend running a Ravager, because like the X-Bleed, Ravager can also proc off your Steel Tornado, so it will be pretty easy to proc the set. And for non-CP, I will also recommend running more sustain, because you will be losing out on the sustained CP passives, and you might also want to run more max stam, because our max stam is already pretty low and it will get even lower in non-CP. Next up, I'll be going through the skills to run on this build. On my front bar, I'm running Wolfhunter for more crit, and it will also give us more weapon damage. Rending slashes will be our dot, and you'll want to apply this to the opponent you are focusing to make it easier to burst him. I'm running Vigor on my front bar, and Steel Tornado is our main spammable. The reason I use Steel Tornado is because it's undodgeable and it has a large radius, so that makes it really difficult to avoid. And the tooltip might not seem very high at first, but it does up to 100% more against low health, and it gets a further 20% damage increase against enemies less than 25% HP. And you also get 15% more damage against stunned enemies. So with these 3 damage multipliers, this skill can hit really hard. And most people that you hit below 25% will not be able to survive this. I'm running Bound Armaments for more max stam as well as light attack damage. And most importantly, for the Daedric Protection passive, which I think a lot of Stamsorc builds are lacking because they forgot about it. And for my ultimate, I'm running Dawnbreaker. This will be our main burst. It does a lot of damage and even more to vampires. When our weapon damage is at the maximum, this has a tooltip of over 20k. So even though it's our only CC, I think it's enough. Next up, for the back bar, I'm running Dark Deal for the sustain. This is probably the best sustain skill in the game. You can convert about 3k mag to about 5k stam. And on top of that, you also get a really nice heal. It heals for about 6k in Cyrodiil on this build. And do take note that it's interruptible, so try to cast it only when you have CC immunity up. Crit Surge, I'm using this skill mainly for the heals. It's a very strong heal, and it's almost like having a second vigor. So try to keep this skill up at all times. It has a pretty long duration, so you don't have to cast it much. Forward Momentum is the main reason I'm running a 2-hand. It gives you 8 seconds to snare and immobilization immunity, and try to keep the immunity up at all times, because if you get snared or rooted at the wrong time, it can cost you a lot. It's also a really cheap skill. It only costs about 2k, so it's not very difficult to keep up. And on top of that, you also get a small little heal over time. Hurricane is probably the most iconic skill of the Stamina Sorcerer, and I'm using this for more resistance, more mobility, as well as some damage. The radius is pretty large. When at the maximum, it's as large as Steel Tornado, so you can use Hurricane on top of our very high speed to catch up to Night Blades and pull them out of stealth. And Hurricane can also proc Implosion, so it can be really helpful when you are trying to kill your opponent. Bound Armaments, now I know this skill only requires 1 bar now, but I'm putting it on my other bar to proc the Daedric Protection passive. And for my ultimate, I'm running Temporal Guard. This is probably the best back bar ultimate to run, because it gives you minor protection when slotted, and I spend most of the time on my back bar because I get more healing on my back bar. You also get a damage shield when you are blocking on your back bar, and on top of that, it can be a really strong ultimate if you use it correctly. And it takes a while to grind the skill up to level 10, but I do think that it's really worth it. If you don't want to run this skill, you can also slot Werewolf on your back bar for more stam recovery. You can also run Storm Echo and swap Bound Armanence up for another skill. Or you can also run an Overload bar. For the Mundus, I'm running the Warrior for more healing and damage. And for my food, I'm running the Artaeum Takeaway Broth. It's basically an upgraded version of Dubious. And I really love this food because it gives us a lot of health recovery. That will put us at about 1.2k, and it will contribute a lot to our passive healing. But it is quite expensive, and if you want to save some gold, you can run Dubious instead. For my potion, I'm running the Essence of Immovability. This will give us permanent uptime on major expedition, which combined with minor expedition from Hurricane and our Swift Jewelry, we will have a lot of movement speed. On top of that, the immovability is also pretty useful because it gives you a 10-second window to burst the opponents without fear of getting burst yourself. And other than that, for my race, I'm an Orc. I think that Orc is the best race for Stamsorc. It gives us more health, more healing, and more mobility. You can go Red Guard if you want, but I think that Orc is still the best. And other than that, do make sure to have your Undaunted passives. We are running 5 heavy and 2 medium, as well as all your other passives and your alchemy passives. Lastly, I'll be going through my CP setup. For my blue tree, I'm running 49 into Blessed for more healing, and Master at Arms because most of our damage is direct. I really like Precise Strikes because not only does it increase our damage, it also increases our healing. So it's a 2 for 1. 37 into Mighty and 25 into Piercing. For my red CP, I'm running 66 into Ironclad and 53 into Resistance. 37 Hardy and Ally and 56 Thick Skin. That will give us our Unchained passive. And I'm running some points into Quick Recovery. Now for the green CP, it is entirely up to you. You have to review your own playstyle in order to allocate the points effectively. For example, I dodge roll a lot, so I put a lot of points in the tumbling. And I don't heavy attack much, so I don't put much into tenacity. So that's all for the build video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a really fun time playing this build. And before I go, I have some things to announce. Firstly, some of you might be disappointed to find out that I will no longer be playing Magicka Sorcerer because it has been directly and indirectly nerfed to the point where it's simply not worth playing anymore. And on top of that, I recently tried a Magicka Nightblade in open world, and its effectiveness surprised me. I did not expect Magicka Nightblade to be so much stronger than Mag Sword. It has a lot more damage, healing, and sustain than Mag Sword. So I'll be playing a lot of Mag Blade in the future, and I'm looking forward to doing videos and with the Mag Blade. I'm still a little bit sad that I had to quit Mag Sword because I've been maining it since I started ESO, but I do think that changes are for the better, and perhaps that in the future when Mag Sword gets buffed again, I might return to it. So I hope you guys understand my decision, and as always, have a nice day.